Vidhisha and Paul to kick us off for this utility midstream gadget session. Vidhisha, over to you. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much, Joe. We always appreciate humor. So yes, we are kickstarting our session with a light note of humor, and I will be sharing my screen. But yes, this session, this is about storytelling. I know you all had like a long day. You might have had your lunch for people in the West Coast. And for people in the East Coast, it's almost time for like tea. So grab your cup of coffee and tea because we are going to have a bit of storytelling. And I have amazing, amazing storytellers with me. So please join me in welcoming Andy Meyer from Efficiency Maine, Bethany Kitch from Tennessee Valley Authority, Megan Kramer from Energy Solutions representing Seattle City Lights, and my very amazing co-moderator, Paul Campbell, Director of Research from ICF. Andy, Bethany, and Megan, they all work as program managers for energy efficiency programs in their respective organizations. They have put together a lot of thought in trying to implement an energy efficiency program so that you and I could go and buy a heat pump water heater. But you know, there's always like this story with a little bit of magic. The name of the magic is incentive. Now, how do we use this incentive? How do we get this incentive? What is that channel through which this incentive travels? Now, that's the story that we are going to share with you today. And my panelist has requested that I should be very creative with my introductions. So here it is with the first panelist, the man, the myth, the legend, and the HPWH Efficiency Award winner, Andy Meyer from Efficiency Maine. Please tell us the story of going from 0 to 80,000. Andy, we want to steal ideas today. Over to you, and I will drive your slides.
Thank you. I'm technically challenged, and I appreciate that. And I want you to know I did bring my coffee mug, so others can enjoy tea while I talk. Thank you, Vidhisha, and Paul for hosting us. For those who don't know Efficiency Maine, I thought we were invited here because of all the good work we did. It turns out Vidhisha has been tracking, and we have made, she tells me, more mistakes than all other programs in the country combined. So it's a little humbling. I was thinking it was different, but we made some mistakes. We are not your competitors. We are your peers. And so I'm going to share mistakes that we made and things that we learned. First, I'm going to talk about Efficiency Maine. We are a quasi-state agency. We run all the programs in Maine. Utilities don't run the programs in Maine. And we do all programs, all fuels. We do electric vehicles, demand response. That's all done by Efficiency Maine. And one of the things, the bullets I want to show is that we have rebated over 80,000 heat pumps in a state that only has 180,000 residential water heaters. So we've been working at this for a long time, and we're starting to see some big success. And that's what I want to say on this slide. Can we have the next one, Vidhisha? Our program is very straightforward. This is almost the entire thing right here. It's any Energy Star heat pump water heater, period. It's any channel, retailers, distributors, online, any channel. We offer a choice of instant discount or mail-in rebate. I've got a slide coming up on that, but the important thing is we offer both simultaneously, and we got that idea from our friends at Efficiency Vermont. We call it the Vermont model. So we're very grateful to them for sharing that best practice. And as far as customers, it's anyone in the whole state of Maine. Residential, commercial, industrial, anywhere in the state of Maine. That's the program. It's very, very simple. That's not the secret. We go to the next slide. Talk a little bit more about the results. Just to have some perspective, we're doing rebating about 10,000 heat pump water heaters per year. That's one every 15 minutes. We have a population of 1.4 million people, not meters, but people. And about roughly half the electric water heaters sold in Maine are now heat pump water heaters. Remember, we've made a lot of mistakes, but as we're figuring them out, we're getting some momentum. And about 1 out of every 20 heat pump water heaters sold in the country come to Maine. And again, we have a population of 1.4 million people, about 600,000 homes. So that's some of the results that we've seen. Next slide. Vidhisha asked me to share a little bit of the financials as to where we put our money. So I've got two columns here. One is per heat pump water heater, which I think is a helpful way to look at it. And per year, when you're doing 10,000 water heaters, this is what it looks like. So our incentive, it's a little bit more complex than this, but basically it's $1,100 per heat pump water heater. Mostly, as I said, most people take advantage of that with the instant discount, either a plumber buying at a distributor or a homeowner or plumber buying at retail. So $1,100 is the incentive. We spend about $800,000 a year per heat pump water heater. That's $80. So 800,000 is a lot of money, but when you do 10,000 heat pump water heaters, $80 is not a lot of money compared to the incentive. We also do a lot of other marketing. We do tons of marketing. You'll hear heat pump water heaters on the radio. You'll see it in print. Some people still read print. We do an email campaign. We do mail campaigns nonstop. I got a postcard last night at home. We do events. We do over 100 events a year. I did one today. Besides this, we do social media, not a lot, but some. And that costs us about 600 grand a year. And that's roughly $60 per heat pump water heater. So not a lot of money, but we get a lot of value for that investment. And then we have Clear Result is the company that we've hired to run the program. And they've got field reps that visit every store and every distributor in the entire state. Well, every water heater store and every plumbing distributor in the state every week. They've got a customer service team that they're on the phone, ready to answer questions, all retail hours. I've called them at Saturday on at 7:30 in the morning to test, make sure they're ready, and they're ready. They do a great job. We've got a rebate processing team, and we've got a management team, which helps with design and management and reporting. The whole cost of all that together is about $1,420 per heat pump water heater. That's all in, that's all costs. And when you do 10,000, it adds up to a lot of money. But when you compare that to $5,000 lifetime savings for a heat pump water heater, it's a heck of a good return on public dollar investment. So I wanted to share that financials before we go on to the next slide, which we can do now. Vidhisha asked me to talk about downstream and midstream. We usually refer to downstream as mail-in rebate, where a customer buys something, mails in the receipt, and then they get a check 6 weeks later. And midstream is a popular term, and it's when the money goes to the retailer, distributor, or installer, and they pass on an instant discount to customers. And people spend a lot of time talking about which is better, and I'll talk about some of the pros and cons, but I'll tell you what's better is both. So downstream, where the incentive goes to the homeowner, gives the homeowner infinite channel flexibility, is what I've written here. They can buy from an installer, the plumber can supply it for them. They can go to their local store. They can buy it on the web. I have 3 friends who bought heat pump water heaters over the web. Who knew? If you're a plumber, you can buy from a distributor. Downstream means the channel doesn't even know about the program. They just sell the product at any price they want and give a receipt to the customer. That's really nice. There's no burden on the channel. The secret is that distributors don't like participating in our program. They have to offer a discount to a plumber and then hope we reimburse them. It's not the business they choose to be in. This they talk about they don't want to be our banker. Now we get along great. We're very good friends. We drive a lot of revenue, a lot of profit, a lot of customer satisfaction for them. So it works out well. There's good feelings, but I think we just want to be honest that it's not entirely in the business interest of the distributor or retailer. They give a discount and have to count on us to reimburse them. So it's a risk that they don't really like. So that's downstream. Some of the advantages of downstream. Midstream, where we reimburse the retail distributor or installer, and they offer an instant discount to customer. Eliminates the initial cost hurdle for the homeowner. If you don't have any money, and Maine's a very poor state, you can't shell out $2,000 for a water heater, even if you're going to save $5,000 over 10 years. You don't have any money. So an instant discount means you can walk in Maine, you can walk into a store with $450 in your pocket and walk out with a $1,500 or $1,800 water heater. You don't wait for any check to come back in the mail and you haven't spent money you don't have. You may have to put that in a credit card. You will have to put in a credit card, but you can be paying that off in a matter of months. So as I said, both is better, and we try to target our incentive to the decision maker. Sometimes that's the plumber, sometimes it's the homeowner. That's it for this slide. We can move on to the next. Thank you. I'm going to apologize. I have a bad memory, so we use a lot of mnemonics, Business Maine. And for critical success factors, or the 5 levers, the accelerators, the program, we use the mnemonic MEMC: marketed, easy, motivating incentives, supported, and the I is for improving, continuously improving. I'm going to talk about these 5 things. This is the secret to our success, and I'm happy to share it with everyone. If we go to the next slide, we'll talk about marketing. There's a lot on this slide. We could spend a lot of time, and I maybe put too much on there. I apologize. But the value proposition that we offer, I'm telling you, this is the trick. You can use any message you want. This is the one that works in Maine, and we all have it memorized. Tens of thousands of Mainers own heat pump water heaters. They're popular, or sometimes we say they love them, because they produce lots of hot water, help dehumidify, and save more than $500 per year in electricity. We've tried a lot of messages, and we use it with Google, and Google will tell you within days what works and what doesn't. And this is what works. People don't typically buy water heaters because they want water heaters. They buy water heaters because they want hot water and they want a lot of it. And if in our pitch we talk about new technology, they hear risky, cold shower. We talk about new breakthrough and new and unproven, they hear unproven. So we say it's proven, it makes lots of hot water. If you say that, they'll be willing to listen another second. You say, help humidify, that's a big deal in Maine, in the summers anyway. And then listen another second. We say save $500 a year on electricity. That's often, that gets their interest. Eventually, we have to have a good price, one that they can afford. But that's the marketing message that we use. And we focus on 4 quadrants. I won't go through in detail. I'd love to. This is what we spend a lot of time on, but we look at 4 segments that are very unique. 2 of them are do-it-yourself, and that means retail. And another 2 are via plumber, and that is typically via distributor, though plumbers do buy from retail as well. And then the other 2 axes, 2 choices are replace on burnout. And that means, and that's tough because those people have no interest in water heaters until all of a sudden there's water in the basement floor and they have intense interest for about 8 hours. We have to get them right that moment. And the next day they have no longer have an interest because they already have a new water heater. So we have a very small window to focus on replace on burnout. And then the reason they're numbered 1, 2, 3, 4 is the lowest hanging fruit is do it yourself, replace on burnout. Those are people who are going to go onto Google and find out where the cheapest water heater is. And if they're handy, they're going to go onto YouTube, YouTube University, we call it, to learn how to replace it themselves. Quadrant 2 is the second lowest hanging fruit. So that's what you should do. If that's what we had most success in, and that's what we'd recommend people do first. If you have more funding, then replace on burnout via plumber is the second quadrant. That's a little bit tougher because plumbers are not our natural allies. Heat pump water heaters are heavier. They require 2 plumbers instead of 1 to carry, and they don't save any money or do any dehumidification for the plumber. And they are also, we spend a lot of time with plumbers. They don't want to put in something they don't know how to fix. And then early retirement is quadrants 3 and 4, and that's very difficult. We're trying to get people who want to buy a bass fishing boat. We try and switch them over and get them to buy a water heater instead. And that is hard work because a bass fishing boat or a jet ski or a snowmobile, that's a lot more fun than a water heater. We're working very hard. We're moving them by the hundreds right now, but it's hard work. So the first M is market. If we see the next slide, I'll give you one sample of what we do. This is one that's going on right now for early retirement. It's a postcard. We do postcards, not letters, because people don't open envelopes. It says save over $1,000, offer expires end of the month. And then on the inside, I can't read this one, but we have different campaigns. We say our records show that you got a rebate from us for a whole home heat pump. Smart move. We have some good news. Now you can heat your water the same way you heat your house, and you have $1,000 off if you buy by the end of the month, or anything like that. So that's just an example. We do postcards, display ads, we do email, as I mentioned, radio, YouTube. We do a lot of marketing. So that's the first part of MEMC is marketing. We do a ton of it. Move on to the next slide. We go to the E, which is easy. And we offer either instant discount or mail-in rebate. I mentioned instant discount. The way this works, and Clear's helped figure this out for us, is shoppers go into the store to buy the cheapest one. They're not in a good mood. This is not a happy time. They're in a foul mood because they have to spend money that they don't have to buy a water heater. They get to the water heater aisle and they see a pretty expensive heat pump water heater, but the end user price is posted there. Might be $450 end user price, and there's a QR code. They take their phone out of their pocket, or computer phone as we call it in Maine, and they scan the QR code and brings them to Efficiency Maine website. We ask for their contact information, address, phone number, everything we need to do an evaluation. And we ask for their email address, and we say, you're all set, check your inbox. They go and check their email inbox on their phone right there in the aisle while they're standing next to the water heaters. And there's an email that says, congratulations, this is $1,000 or $1,100 instant discount. They take the water heater, wheel it down. So it makes it the cheapest or in the store, or at least comparable, one of the cheapest in the store. They wheel the water heater down to the checkout. Checkout asks for $2,000. Say, does this help? They show their phone. They scan the phone. Say, oh yeah, never mind, $450. They pay the $450 and walk out the store. It happened right then and there. Was no delay, not waiting for anything. They're not going to get a rebate in the mail. It already happened. Alternatively, I told you, if they want to buy some other way, some other place, they can buy anywhere they want. And then we'll do a mail-in rebate, which is clumsier, but gives flexibility. One little thing I want to share, this photo here has got a heat pump water heater on a cart. So in the store, people figured out that lifting the heat pump water heater onto a cart can be a barrier. So sometimes in the stores, they'll actually put the heat pump water heater on a cart and just set it there, just eliminating a little bit of friction, make everything we can do to make it easy to buy a heat pump water heater. So that's the significance of that store. And you can see that $850 instant discount photo in the back. That's a prior promotion we had. But we market as hard as we can, and then we try to make it easy for the customer to participate in the program. That's what the E stands for. And go on to the next slide, talk about the next M is motivating incentives. I skipped over this as I went through the quadrants before, so I'll be a little more detailed here. The replace on burnout, DIY, so they're gonna put it in themselves and they've got a leaky water heater. We win with the same price. We don't have to win on price. They're gonna get, instead of a 40-gallon electric, they'll get a 50-gallon heat pump water heater instead of a 6-year warranty. Oh, I apologize. ERWH stands for electric resistance water heater. That's a traditional electric water heater. And they get a longer warranty, bigger tank, and the energy savings. Those are compelling. That's compelling enough to win. We win at matched price. Motivating incentive via plumber, matching price will not work. Plumbers do not like heat pump water heaters, and they never will. I already told you why. They dislike, it says right here, dislike the weight, dimensions, condensate, unfamiliar refrigeration technology. They don't like them. So we have to go $100 less than 40-gallon 6-year electric water heater. And then the motivating incentives we have for early retirement, we offer limited time. That's the magic. I know you're thinking of buying a bass fishing boat, but you could miss an opportunity to save $1,000 on a water heater if you don't buy by the end of the month. Now. So we've got to try and inspire these guys. And it works. It's amazing. We can actually get what's called an impulse purchase on something as boring and expensive as a water heater, but we do it every day. So that's a limited time offer. And then early retirement via plumber, we don't have that figured out. I'm just being honest, we don't know how to make that happen. That's tough to call a plumber, and it could be $1,500, $3,000 to replace a working water heater. That's tough. We're experimenting with that, and hopefully I can tell you more about that. I see Stacy has a limited time offering. The secret on that is we offer 3 or 4 promotions per year. We find that 2-month promotions work best. We can inspire people and give them a chance to react. And we alternate on, off, on, off. And we learned that from GE years ago. Francois Lebrasseur taught us that with their GeoSpring, and it works really well. People love a limited time offer. That's the pitch on motivating incentives. There's more to it, but I think that's all I'm going to cover here. Going on to the next slide, we talked about marketing, make it easy, make a motivating incentive, and supported is the next one. And this is gigantic. This is one I have learned on this program, how incredibly impactful support is. I spent every Tuesday with customers. But this Tuesday, I was with one of our field team reps visiting stores and branches, and they go and they know everybody in the plumbing department in the store. They know their spouses, their kids. They know the questions. They've got them on speed dial. It's really great to have that connection to the store personnel, branch personnel. Clear Result also has a staff that supports the headquarters of retailers and distributors and manufacturers. And it's amazing how the two don't talk. The branch people don't always talk to the headquarters people. We talk to both, so we can sometimes serve as the glue to connect them to their own teammates. Supported, we have an online plumber locator. So if a homeowner has a leaky water heater on the floor and they want to do it, replace it with a plumber, they want to know who will get it done and what's the cheapest price. And we have a locator. You put in your zip code and the fact that you're looking for a heat pump water heater installer, and you will get results, and we sort them, the results, by which plumbers have done the most heat pump water heaters. Because remember, they're not all our allies. We also have done a lot of things that didn't work. That's in the lower impact. That's just being polite, but they don't work. Free brochures, we offer them to plumbers. Plumbers don't use brochures. They never have, and they never will. We use them in our trade show events, and we offer them to plumbers, but it happened to be today. I offered it to a plumbing sales rep, and he was polite that he had zero interest in a brochure. We also spend a fair amount of time writing newsletters to contractors that we're very proud of, and they don't know about them. Plumbers are busy. They're driving or lifting or installing or cutting out or hauling off old parts. They don't sit around reading newsletters. We keep writing them, but that's not a good use of time. Other things that are not a good use of time are financing. People have credit cards for those purchases that small. Paying a stocking incentive to a store or a distributor is a terrible use of money. They know what they're doing. If there's demand, they'll have product. I was in a store, as I mentioned, I was in stores Tuesday. In one aisle, one retailer had 22 heat pump water heaters, and it wasn't the water heater aisle. The reason it was in that aisle was the water heater aisle had 3 deep, 3 facings in the aisle heat pump water heaters. So we get lots of inventory. The way to get inventory in a retailer and distributor is send demand their way. They won't miss it. They won't miss a sale twice. They might miss the sale the first time, but they won't miss it twice. They're very, very good. And the last thing is plumber training. 80,000, we have yet to train a plumber. I have yet to meet a plumber who doesn't know how to plumb a heat pump water heater. It's got cold water, electricity, and room air goes in, hot water, condensate, and cool, dry air comes out. There's not a lot to it, so we don't try and make them look scary to plumbers. They're very, very good. At least the ones in Maine are excellent. So that's what we've learned about support. We've talked about marketing, talked about making it easy, we talked about motivating incentives. This is the slide on supported. And the last slide, if we go to that now, is the continuously improving. This is what I spend my time doing. We spend time ride-alongs, we call them, job shadowing, trade allies, plumbers, manufacturers, distributors, retailers, and we listen and we watch. I close my mouth and open my eyes, open my ears. We have a field team that's listening all the time, and the headquarters team. We actively try and get feedback from them. We have weekly customer call recording monitoring. We listen to what customers are asking and ask ourselves, was that a call we wanted to get, or is that a call that they had to make because it was a problem? Had we created friction in our program? And we all get together, we listen to the calls together. We have in-store intercept interviews. That's a word for ambushing a poor customer. We've done focus groups. We have thousands of homeowner conversations. We review our own website proactively to make sure it's streamlined. We get feedback from stores and customers and branches. And I mentioned we do 100 outreach events a year. And we have friends that when they buy heat pump water heaters, give us feedback. And that helps us find ways to optimize our program. So those are the 5 things: marketing, make it easy, get a motivating incentive, support the entire channel, and no matter what you come up with, see if you can make it better. And that's what we keep working on. And that is the end of my presentation.
Thank you so much, Andy. That was really insightful. Since we're short on time, so I will have to ask you to please stay with us for the Q&A session. And we will now move on to our next presenter. It was very humble of Andy to say that he learned from his mistakes, but it's not just Andy. Someone else also learned from his mistakes, turned his mistakes into stepping stones of success. And that is the next story from the Valley. So welcoming my next panelist, Bethany, to tell us the story about TVA's Midstream program. I'll drive the slides for you, Bethany.
Thank you so much. Happy Heat Pump Water Heater Day, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. My name is Bethany Kitch. I'm a senior program manager at the Tennessee Valley Authority. I manage our residential rebates programs, including our midstream and upstream models, as well as our community offerings. I've been at TVA for about 15 years, but I've only been in the heat pump water heater space for about a year. First, I want to thank Andy and Efficiency Maine for paving the way forward for a successful heat pump water heater offering and for making all the mistakes so I didn't have to. So thank you, Andy, for that. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so the Tennessee Valley Authority provides electricity to 153 local power companies, and they serve about 10 million people in 7 states. We also have about 60 directly served industrial customers and federal agencies that we serve as well. We are a federal agency, however, we do not take taxpayer funding. Rather, our revenues come from sales of electricity. We not only produce electricity, but we provide flood control, navigation, and land management. We manage over 293,000 acres and 11,000 miles of shoreline for the Tennessee River system and assist local power companies and regional governments with their economic development efforts. Next slide, please. So our goal is to, of course, lower the demand for energy. This helps TVA save on operational costs and reduce our need to invest in expensive infrastructure like power plants. We have residential rebates available to homeowners such as HVAC, duct sealing, air sealing, things that are duct systems, air sealings, and things of that nature. So heat pump water heater fit perfectly into our portfolio. Our goal was to make heat pump water heaters the obvious choice, and we want to transform the market here in the Valley. Our approach started by collaborating with utilities, manufacturers, our implementer, who is Clear Result as well, suppliers, contractors, DOEs, SIA, and NEA, and any other acronym that you can think of. We spoke with them. We first identified that we needed to get stock of heat pump water heaters in the Valley. Many suppliers and retailers were not stocking heat pump water heaters. So we began building relationships with manufacturers first. Second, we needed to find a way to encourage suppliers to stock heat pump water heaters and make it simple. Then we began educating our trade allies and other contractors in the Valley in partnership with participating suppliers. Once we launched our midstream offering, we did experience some challenges. But once it took off, boy, did it take off. Next slide, please. So a couple of mistakes that we made. So we first tried offering a direct rebate to homeowners and builders. Our incentive was $800, and we had about 90 heat pump water heaters reported to us in FY24. So we knew we could make a larger impact. We were hearing from our contractors, our trade allies, that their suppliers weren't stocking heat pump water heaters. So then we had to go to our next step. That's when we began collaborating with partners, as I mentioned on the previous slide, DOE, Clear Result, and even our EM&V team. It was really important to try to get this process as easy as possible. That's exactly what we heard through all of our collaborations with all of these different stakeholders. We worked with our EM&V team, so that means evaluation, measurement, and verification, to understand the data that we truly need. How do we not require the supplier to verify installation locations? Is it a replacement system? Are they replacing an electric or a gas system? And we decided that we've got 7% market penetration in the Valley, so we don't need as much information as we usually capture at the homeowner level. We first partnered with manufacturers after we eliminated the homeowner rebate. Then we went to partner with manufacturers. But the payment terms were going to be too long for suppliers, and it was also too difficult for some of the manufacturers to implement our process and provide the data that we needed. So we quickly pivoted within 3 weeks, and we decided to go to the suppliers. We worked directly with the manufacturers to start recruiting suppliers in the Valley. We launched that on March 1st of 2025, and we had our first batch of reporting on April 15th of 2025. September 30th, as of September 30th, we had over 1,800 heat pump water heaters reported to us, and we had just launched in March 1st. So it was huge. Next slide, please. So here's our offering. So we've got $1,300. It's an instant markdown. So in retail, it's already applied to the price that you see on the shelf. And then at the suppliers, the same. When the contractor, builder, or homeowner checks out at the supplier's cash register, it's automatically marked down. All they need to do is provide their information, so that contractor's information. We do not require the installation address. We don't require if it's replacing gas or electric. Remember, keep it simple. Not that utilities ever try to complicate things or anything, but definitely try to keep it as simple as possible. We do pay the suppliers an admin fee to report the data to us and for the education that they do with their customers. They've been huge advocates for us. So we absolutely want to keep those relationships going and those conversations flowing with them. We also pay our trade allies $50 to report homeowner information to us as well. Next slide, please. Like I said, keep it simple. You can see on the right-hand side or side of the table, you see required. So we collect supplier information, the heat pump water heater details, and the purchaser information. I really don't care who the purchaser is. It can be a builder, it can be a contractor, a homeowner, and they will provide their information to us. We do ask for installation address. If we get it, that's great. If not, that's still okay. Remember, we're going to keep it simple. So how did we keep it simple? By not putting it on the supplier to let us know that that heat pump water heater is being installed in the Valley. Well, we put a process in place for supplier locations that are eligible. We added the addresses to a mapping software, and we apply a 30-mile radius around that. If the location is 70% within the Valley, those locations qualify to participate. We chose 70% because our net to gross is currently 70%. So that made sense. We also take into consideration national parks and low density population within that 30% of outside the valley. So for example, if a supplier is within the valley by 65%, but of that 35%, most of it's national parks, then we would qualify that location. We've built code that takes into consideration all of those parameters, and so that we're fair to all suppliers within the valley. Next slide, please. So quickly, I've kind of already went over this. So our first year, when it was when we were providing or giving a rebate to the homeowners, we received 90 units. As soon as we launched this, within 5 months, we had over 1,500. At the time of making this slide, we had 11 distributors and then 151 locations, which includes retailers. Now we have 12 distributors and 176 locations. And I think I just sent in these slides maybe a week or two ago. So, and I just heard, so breaking information, that we may have received over 500 heat pump water heaters this month. So huge jump up. So of course, energy savings is important, but we also want to reduce the cost of our customers. But we have booked over 4 gigawatt hours saved to date. So at the end of September. Next slide, please. One more slide, sorry. I may have not said thank you. As I mentioned, in FY25, we focused on stocking because we didn't have stock in the valley. That's why our homeowners were not purchasing heat pump water heaters, and educating contractors. So I believe Jim mentioned it earlier, and he said, build contractors' confidence. And that's exactly what we had to do, because if we didn't build that confidence, then they were going to deter homeowners from installing heat pump water heaters. So in FY26, we will continue to focus on training our contractors, building their knowledge, answering their questions, and then educating homeowners on why heat pump water heaters are the best choice. We will we're going to implement and pay for paid media, blog posts, and we'll include education around heat pump water heaters in our email newsletters from past participants as well. Next slide. Last year, we did launch a heat pump water heater page. So if any of the customers in the valley had questions about heat pump water heaters or saw the signage in Home Depot or Lowe's, they could easily go to our website and find out more information about heat pump water heaters. We also had a heat pump water heater calculator added to our website, and it includes our KWH or average KWH charged here in the valley. Next slide, please. Lessons learned. It's pretty much what you've heard today. Lessons learned is stock is going to continue to be a challenge. We're going to continue to work with our partners to help improve stocking in the valley. It's important to stay connected with distributors and manufacturers. We have calls set up on the regular basis, and we have 7 market outreach specialists who work directly with our suppliers to answer questions and to make sure they're visiting Lowe's and Home Depot to make sure the signage is still up and answer any questions that those folks may have as well. Again, keep it simple. Also make sure your payment terms are pretty quick. We pay within a week or so. Don't have long payment periods. This will discourage participation from the suppliers. And you have to keep your connections and continue to pivot when needed. Next slide, please. We're going to keep the heat on. We're going to continue to move forward. We're hoping, and after this month, I think that we're absolutely going to hit this goal. We're hoping to have 4,000 heat pump water heaters installed in the valley this year. It sounds like we may exceed that. So thank you all for welcoming me into this family, and I'm excited to be here. And thank you for the time today.
Thank you so much, Bethany. And wow, what a breakthrough that you're jumping with numbers. So yes, please stay with us for the panel discussion session. I will move forward and invite my next panelist. Megan, I'll just stop the screen share so that you can go ahead and do your setup with your presentation. So when we started with heat pump water heater day a couple of years back, some of us didn't really understand the concept, some even doubted. But there were a handful of people who really admired and supported this event. And one of them wondered, like, how can I be a part of this event someday? Her manifestation came true in 2025, and Megan is not just joining as a participant, but she's a panelist today. So welcome, Megan from Energy Solutions, representing Seattle City Lights. Tell us your story.
Thank you for that introduction. This is a great event, and I have been watching it over the years. It's such great collaboration and shared knowledge celebrating heat pump water heaters, and I am excited to be involved, so thank you. Also, congrats, Andy, for your award earlier today. So, as we heard from Andy on the East Coast, Bethany in Tennessee, and now I'm in the Pacific Northwest. As we can see from this presentation and this graphic, heat pumps work all over the country. Most of the HVAC and water heating programs mentioned here are heat pump focused. And so does Midstream. So this conversation today, we've been mentioning Midstream quite a bit. At Energy Solutions, Midstream is our bread and butter. We run 36 programs in 22 states because it's a cost-effective and it gets efficient technologies into homes and businesses. Energy Solutions is an employee-owned clean energy firm. It creates large-scale energy and environmental impacts by leveraging market-based solutions. So these Midstream programs, they draw from each other's successes and lessons learned. I think that's a lot of what we've been talking about today. But we also really need to dedicate specific time and energy to each individual program, because states and utilities, there's regulations, there's codes, and there's specific goals. So while we strive to maintain consistency between markets and we work with distributors on a national level and a regional level, there's always that balance that we strive towards. I'm here to talk specifically about one of our programs, which is the Seattle City Light Midstream program. Programs grow and change over time, responding to different influences. Again, this program launched in 2020. It's a full midstream program with a suite of services, and we've had to make some adjustments to respond to market conditions and distributor and contractor feedback. We do have really strong relationships with our distributors and contractors, and we really value when they provide us feedback. I also wanted to mention that we have an ECM pump rebate. It may be of interest to this group. There's been some talks about those pumps in the sessions today as well. We also do have air source heat pumps in this program. So when the state code changed, we had to adjust. The rebate had to be adjusted, and we worked to keep new construction as part of the program. But quickly we saw that the best opportunity for cost-effective savings in City Light territory was through retrofit applications. So now that's all we offer. And then this past year, we made another significant change to the program. And this was in direct response to distributor and contractor feedback, where we aligned the rebate with other offerings in the market. So I'll talk about that in a minute. Also, I wanted to mention October has actually been a really busy month for us. We held our first Pacific Northwest Energy Star Manufacturers Action Council webinar. So this draws on what our Tech Clean California program has done. Some of you might be familiar. This webinar is an opportunity for heat pump water heater manufacturers to talk directly to installers and other stakeholders. It's open to whoever would like to attend, but they can talk directly about their products, what's new and innovative, kind of like today. So it's a nice opportunity for folks to just really talk and discuss and know what's going on. We also launched a small business limited time offer. Limited time offers have also come up in the earlier presentations, and they can be a nice way to drive savings. This one was funded through the Climate Commitment Act. We're also finalizing some details related to a pilot program with Bonneville Power Administration. So by the end of 2025, looking back from launch of the program we are targeting about 1,000 qualifying heat pump water heaters in just Seattle City Light territory. Now I want to talk a little bit about Seattle City Light's offerings. And again, similar to what other folks today have been talking about, there is a digital coupon, and we also have there is an online application through Seattle City Light. But really focusing on Midstream today, it's a seamless way for distributors to ensure that any qualifying sales that they are making into the market are submitted for a rebate. Now, these rebates were not aligned previously. The $750 that you see here, it wasn't always the same amongst these different programs. So that's the change we made this year. What we were hearing from the market was that it was confusing. So after we better understood the issue, we made the change. It was great feedback. And we really appreciate how engaged the distributors are with our program and that they feel like they can give us that feedback. And we want to always ensure that, when it makes sense, we do make those changes. So you can see the different rebate levels and also, again, the alignment between commercial and residential. We do have a commercial rebate as well. And there's also a spiff. So again, talking about some of the same themes, there is a pass-through rebate. It's provided to the distributor to be passed through to the contractor and the end-use customer. And then the spiff is for the contractor to keep and do with what they see fit. Again, we're excited about this limited time offer, so I wanted to mention it again. So since this rebate is so large, it's up to, because we can't exceed the installed cost. And I think that's also a common theme amongst incentive programs. So again, program requirements. There's sort of some nuancy things about this, but I just want to mention sort of the bigger things. And I also wanted to mention NEA. NEA has a tiered qualified products list. If folks are not familiar, they are the Northwest Energy Efficiency Alliance. So NEA has partners in Oregon, Washington, Idaho, and Montana, and they're working towards market transformation. NEA maintains a QPL. It's a common standard in the region, so we align with that. And then I also wanted to mention some of the other requirements: installation address, model number, building type, quantity, one per residence, unless there's a actual sort of parcel defined ADU, DADU, some of those, details we get into. You can have more for a commercial property. We do ask for some other invoice information. But we really try, like Bethany was saying, to keep it easy and only ask for what we absolutely need. That's something we really strive to. So we're only asking for the things that we absolutely need for reporting. This small business limited time offer, we are required to request some additional information because it's required for the Climate Commitment Act reporting. So again, always trying to strive to ensure that we're only asking for what's necessary, but like any program, we definitely need some information. I also wanted to mention that a percentage of claims are verified for that pass-through requirement, and just to make sure what you said you installed actually got installed. And again, I think that's pretty consistent across programs. So a little bit about marketing. Again, some similar themes. We do a postcard, and always try to make them cute and fun so people will actually look at them. Thought this was kind of a fun graphic to share. And then we have this flyer: heat pumps, heat pump water heaters, and more. That QR code goes to our program website. So there's tons of information on there. QPL links, rebate tables, lists of distributors. There's also a lengthy list of frequently asked questions. Of course, once in a while there's things that we've missed, but there's a lot of information on there to support contractors and distributors, to support them in any way that we can. With this new Energy Star Manufacturer Actions Council webinars that we've been supporting, we've been trying to do even more. So we're supporting the promotion of participating contractors online. So there is the Hot Water Solutions website and Energy Star. We're sort of trying to support folks that are engaging with the program and get them on these lists so they're easier to find. So if folks want to get a water heater installed, let's direct them to those contractors who are participating and engaged, and utilize the resources that are available in the market. So that's all I had. Thank you so much for having me. And this again is the QR code to our website if anybody would like to find out more.
Thank you, Megan. That was a super speed up presentation. I really appreciate. Thank you for keeping us on time. I would now like to welcome all the panelists to please come on camera and my co-moderator, Paul Campbell. Bring in your coffee mugs, please. Let's wrap this session up with a very important question. Paul, please go ahead. You are on
You're on
mute,
mute.
Paul.
I'm off mute. There we go. Hey, thanks everybody, and really enjoyed those presentations. You know, I've been supporting the heat pump water heater category for 5+ years now, and there's always been this moniker that, you know, nobody wants to collaborate across utility territories. Everybody's got to do it their own way. Nobody wants to listen, and clearly, you all demonstrate that there is tremendous opportunity and tremendous gain to be made by learning and listening to each other. And we've gone from coast to coast across this this session today, and that's been terrific. So with that in mind, and you know, I have so many great examples that you guys have highlighted here, and hopefully that our audience has taken note of many of those, because even though, yes, utilities have their own unique sandboxes that they play in, there are so many scalable behaviors and efforts that you guys have already highlighted today that everyone should be making note of and attempting to those. Yes, there are some unique things that are only going to be unique to you, but there's also some very universal and scalable efforts. So I commend all of you for being open and receptive and sharing your practices and moving forward. So with that being said, I'm curious to know from each of you, and we can maybe start, we'll reverse order. We'll start with Megan. So Megan, from what you've heard today from your fellow presenters, if you could steal one thing from their program design or delivery, what would it be?
You know, I think the thing that if I could make happen, the regionality of some of the other programs, I think it really just boosts the program to just have that regionality and consistency across utilities and regions. And you know, we have that in some of the programs that we present, and we have that but again, just exactly what you were saying, Paul, some, you know, the ability to collaborate and have consistency. And, you know, when we work with our distributor partners, that's a lot of the feedback we get from them as well, and contractors as well. The more we can do to work together and have consistency in the market, it just makes it easier. Like you were saying again, Bethany, you know, just make it, what can we do to work together so it's easier for the folks actually accessing our programs? And so I think Efficiency Maine is a good example of that. There's some other statewide programs. It doesn't necessarily have to be, you know, branded that way, but just sort of trying to make things, looking at it from the consumer perspective, where they can approach the market and try to buy a certain piece of technology. And it's a little more uniform and a little bit easier to access.
Great. Thank you, Megan. How about Bethany?
Yeah, I think, Megan, you're exactly right. I think if we could have consistency across the nation on the way that we're offering these midstream approaches, it'd be a lot easier for sure. But I would like to pick Megan's brain on the commercial side. So I definitely want to reach out to you there because that's one of the areas that we want to expand in, is in our B&I space. And then Andy, I think your impulse purchase marketing is something I'm going to definitely pass along to our marketing team as well. But I've learned a lot today, so I have lots of notes.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, thank you for sharing that, Bethany. And finally, over to Mr. Andy.
Thanks, Paul. I'm going to steal one idea from both Megan and Bethany. One of the magic of our success in heat pumps is preferentially sorting installers by number of heat pumps they install. We don't always track heat pump water heater installers, so we don't always know. And I like that both of you have a spiff to the contractor and a reason, what's in it for them, a reason for them to tell us which installations they help drive, or at least not block. So I really like that idea, and it's something that we're going to give some thought to as a result of hearing that today.
Terrific. Well, thanks everyone so much for those inputs. Vidhisha, back to you to wrap it up.